Everybody, welcome. I'm Aaron.
Chase.
And we are Nightmare Talks. We're just getting started with this channel. So there's a lot for us to learn. There's a lot of things we're trying to figure out as we go. But mainly what we're trying to do, what we're going for is we're just going to have conversations about whether it be movies, just events going on in the world, things going on in the news, just pretty much anything we want to talk about. There's no fences, there's no walls. We'll just talk about whatever, and hopefully it's things that you guys might be interested in. Today, we are going to start out with, we're going to spotlight a movie called Troll Hunter. It is from 2007, I believe. If I am correct. No, 2010.
Yep.
Sorry, 2010.
It's all good.
Chase, if you want to start out.
So, good movie. Great film. Very action-packed, at least from the middle to the end. The beginning is slow.
Slow start.
Slow to... It tries to develop the story as you go, and it takes its time in doing so. So, that part, if you're not one of those people that's patient, which sometimes I'm not very patient, yeah, I would just turn a movie like this off. But the other downside of this movie is subtitles. So
it's a foreign movie.
Probably one of my biggest takeaways is subtitles. I hate reading. I'm not a reader. I watch movies for a reason. I don't watch movies to read. So that's where I stand on that. Overall, love the movie though. I think the special effects in it are great. I think the overall plot of the movie itself is spot on. It took me a while to it took me a minute when I turned it on to get going with it, but over time I'm glad I stuck with it. Glad I watched the movie. I had never even heard of Troll Hunter until Aaron brought it up and said, "Hey man, you gotta watch this." And then he's like, "I know what you're thinking. It's got subtitles, and just give it time. It gets better."
Give it a chance, yeah.
Definitely worth a watch. As I'm just getting into kind of the foreign film arena when it comes to some of the horror movies, it's definitely something you have to be patient with. It's not something where an Americanized horror film, you have the basic genre of, all these different ones. It's different. It's not like that at all. It's not like right there in your face from the get-go. It builds, and then you get to the point of the story. So,
yeah. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Troll Hunter is a Norwegian film. As Chase touched on, it is subtitled. Subtitled movies, I'm kind of on the fence with them. I don't really mind reading as long as it's not taking away from the action. It is pretty annoying when there's a lot going on screen and you're trying to read what's going on because you feel like you're missing things. This movie does a pretty good job with that, though. You don't really feel like you're missing out on anything. Nope. But once again, it's about a group of college kids who are, not to spoil the movie or anything, but basically it's about a bunch of college kids that are following a guy who they believe is a poacher, and it turns out that he actually works for the Norwegian government, tracking down and hunting trolls that have escaped from a reservation that they have set up to contain these trolls. And I'm not talking about little plastic toys that
not your garden gnome trolls, not the little small ones.
No, as you can see by the case, those are just the legs of a giant troll that is actually in the movie.
Yep.
Now, before you start saying, because I said the same thing when my coworker told me about this movie, man, that sounds really cheesy. That just sounds like a B-rated movie and just doesn't sound interesting at all. But let me tell you, as Chase said earlier, it's a slow start. But once it gets going, man, you're on edge of your seat. You're just like the graphics were amazing in the sense that, this isn't, a $10 million movie. This isn't Armageddon. This is a independent film, essentially. I mean, I can't really compare it to like the Blair Witch Project or anything like that, because they obviously did have to spend some money on the graphics and the special effects, but it's not over the top. It's very well done. So if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. As Chase touched on, I'm very big on foreign movies. I really enjoy watching foreign movies, subtitled or not. I just like the variety, in my opinion. And we're gonna give a lot of opinions on this show.
Fully opinionated.
Yeah, and it's solely opinions. Like, you know, we're never gonna get on here and say these are the 10 greatest movies ever made, because that's not what we're about. We will tell you what our favorite 10 movies are, whether they be horror movies, action movies, whatever. But
to expand on that more, so if there's films we haven't watched, or you think there's a film we should watch and review, especially if, you know, you're familiar with these type movies, if you're familiar with foreign, you know, horror films, it doesn't necessarily have to be a horror film, but that's kind of the route we tend to go. Between the two of us, we tend to lean more towards horror films.
Yeah, for sure.
But if, you know, there's other films we're not aware of, please, you know, don't be afraid to leave a comment and let us know, because for sure we'll give it a watch and let you know. And
definitely, and then we can, you know, we can talk about it. And I mean, not everybody lives in the United States, so I really enjoy Japanese horror. I think Japanese people really get it. They really get it when it comes to the creep factor of just keeping it simple, but yet, I mean, you're just like nail biters, man. Like, they don't really rely on the jump scares. And unfortunately, a lot of American movies do that. Is they rely on the jump scares.
I feel like that's all American has gotten used to, is jump scares.
You just don't need it. You don't, if the story's good and the acting is good, you know. And when it comes to horror, you really have to be open-minded. You gotta sit down and just be like, this movie could go any which way. But just enjoy it for what it is. Just enjoy it for what it is. And if you're able to do that, then you will enjoy movies like Troll Hunter. If not, you know, stick with your Insidiouses, stick with your Conjurings, you know, your mainstream horror. But I mean, horror is
great movies. Hold on, great movies. Oh, yeah. Disclaimer: great movies.
No, I totally agree.
We will touch on those, but this is so I know what you're saying. So this is a different aspect. So, and we've had this conversation several times. It's just different aspects of horror. So I cannot, and it's like you were touching on, you can't compare Troll Hunter to any of like an Insidious, a Conjuring,
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Sinister, any of those type movies. It's not a comparable, like, it's just not a comparison you can make, because to even say one that this is a horror film, to me, doesn't really make sense. I would say more so on like an action thriller type movie, honestly. But, you know, in, you know, Norway, this could be considered their version of horror.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like, you know, in the United States we talk about Bigfoot. Well, in Norway they probably talk about trolls just like we do Bigfoot. Like they probably know that they exist. And you know, and but man, with horror movies, I mean, it is a vast ocean. It is a vast ocean, and once you dive in, you know, you just got to be prepared to see all kinds of stuff that you may or may not like, but if you are a horror fan, you appreciate it for what it is, and I feel like that's what we do, and that is why we came up with this channel. But we're going to be discussing all kinds of other things. Let me tell you right now, we're going to be all over the place.
For sure. You know what? And we may touch on it several times. It may be multiple videos of, we go back to a conversation where we had a previous video, but based on how, you know, things come out, YouTube is an amazing thing, and a lot of other resources out there that put out great things. So as things happen and come up, it could be stuff we talk about, not necessarily politics. We don't really. Yeah, that's not what we're gonna talk about here. We're gonna steer away from,
and religion.
So UFOs, Bigfoot,
ghosts,
just any weird phenomenons that don't have an explanation. I think it's worth talking about. And then always, the reason, I mean, we make a channel like this is to hear other aspects of what people may think, or your opinion on certain situations. I mean, crap, dude. On that same note, recently the Pentagon has acknowledged that, you know, aliens are real. So
there's that.
Something to talk about. I feel like nobody's talking about that right now. I feel like it's been said, put in the news, but yet nobody is saying anything.
Which is really unfortunate. That
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, the world is so focused on other things that I just feel like aren't comparable to UFOs.
It's not the same kind of news. There are enough things going on in the world to where I get why it's not mainstream. Take this back to the 70s, everybody's going nuts. You take a situation like this back to the 70s, people would have flipped.
Roswell and...
They would have flipped.
Yeah.
100%.
But, you know, to me, it's like, I could care less that, you know, Joe Biden stuttered during his speech, or so-and-so said this, and to me, the fact that we have aircraft that are being seen all over the world, which they've been, I mean, let's just be honest, like, this isn't something new.
No.
It's the reason that this is even making the news is because the government is actually acknowledging it now.
Yep.
Instead of denying it like they've been doing for decades, now they actually have to confirm that there are such things as UFOs and aliens. And
I think we have too much... there's too much media, there's too much technology around nowadays to where it's only a matter of time. It's one of those aspects where you can only put it off for so long. You can you can keep saying, oh no, you know, and wiping it, you know, sweeping it under the rug and not talking about it. But at the end of the day, with the way we are in technology, where we're at, and how everybody uses it to document everything, there's only so far you can go, and then somebody's gonna be like, well, I'm throwing the BS flag because there's no way.
Well, and it's like your mom used to tell you when you were a kid, the truth will always come out.
Yep.
And that's what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially, that's what's happening.
Yep.
And at some point, you know, you can only lie so much before people are like, BS, dude, BS. Like, this is what we saw, you know, whether it be 2 people saw it, 100 people saw it, and that's what's happening. And, you know, the fact that people don't want to acknowledge it, don't want to admit that there may or may not be aliens or life on other planets. Well, I'm the type of person, if you can prove it, you know, and which there is now proof, which is undeniable. I mean, if you've seen the videos online or on the news, then you know what we're talking about. There's one in San Diego. There was one off the East Coast. I think there was 3. There was 2 that the Navy actually acknowledged pretty much back to back. And you know, that's just the U.S. Who knows what's going on in Russia? I know Peru is a hot spot for alien and UFO activity, and it has been
For sure. Yeah, I I think it's definitely one of those things where it would be interesting to have like a world conference, if there were such a thing, where all the evidence is gathered up amongst, you know, different countries, so on and so forth, to talk about specifically that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool, this is what's happened to us. What's happened to you?
And maybe they do. Maybe they just, we don't know about it.
I swear, so not impossible, probably, but I don't foresee that being on the front of things that are important to talk about at this point. I just don't imagine.
It should be.
Agreed.
We have no idea what the intention is.
We don't.
And that's scary to me.
It does.
That is terrifying that we have aircrafts that are more advanced than us, that are literally just cruising around at will, you know, unchecked. You don't see on the news, oh, you know, the Air Force shot down a UFO over Texas. You don't see it, and if they do,
I feel like the other side of that would be, though, even if they did, they wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, and once again, that's what makes it terrifying.
Yeah, I know.
Is guys like us who are sitting
here. It would happen,
here,
but you probably just wouldn't hear it.
At some point, like, do we need to be concerned? Are there precautions that we need to be taking as civilians?
Yeah. But what do you do?
I mean, if there are
do you go signs on everybody and make a foil hat? Like, what do you do in that circumstance where you're like, look, aliens are real, and it's a threat?
Right.
What is your move? What do you do from there? What is the next move? Checkmate?
I'm pretty sure my shotgun's probably not going to do a whole lot of damage to a being that has figured out how to travel the universe and who is able to fly a spaceship without wings and any kind of emissions.
Possible teleportation. There's a lot of things that just come into play.
And
The dynamic of thinking of what would warfare look. Sorry, we are on a tangent, and that's what you will learn. We will do this
all over
anyway.
the place. All over
The dynamic of thinking of we're going to war with aliens. What is the battle plan? Because I'm gonna tell you right now.
Good luck.
I don't think we got a battle plan, and I don't think there is a solid enough plan to where we're like, we're gonna win. I don't think that's a reality. I really don't. Even if all the countries got along, let's say for once that there's actually world peace. Let's say everybody becomes allies because we're going to war against aliens. Even then, we do not stand a chance. That's like I said, my opinion. I do not think we can hang with.
I agree.
And there's I've watched a lot of different documentaries, theories about UFOs, aliens, the history of it, so on and so forth. They think they've been here for a long time. They think they have been around. They think they've existed this entire time and literally just watched.
Look, that theory about them saying that they believe that they're actually in the oceans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And not necessarily coming from space, because if you feel like, if you think about how advanced humans, mankind
100%.
have come with satellites and any kind of surveillance in space, because obviously, if you're going to throw a satellite in space, you're going to want to monitor it to make sure that nobody else is tampering with it. You know what I mean? This is millions and billions of dollars.
But who knows how their technology affects that said technology? That's that dynamic we don't understand. That's what makes me nervous.
Right. Well, and when you get people who, for example, I have a friend who's from Bangladesh, and I distinctly remember a conversation we had where he didn't know anything about UFOs. He never watched documentaries, and he told me on 2 different occasions. Him and his girlfriend would go out to Lake Mead, and they would park out there because they both still live with their parents, I believe, and that was really the only way they could get away and spend some time alone.
Yep.
And on 2 different occasions, he saw some sort of aircraft come out of the lake at high speed and fly off into the sky.
Yeah.
And okay, so once again, you're taking somebody who doesn't know anything about UFOs.
Yeah. Nor does
and his first question was, does the United States have technology? Does the military have technology to where they have aircrafts that go underwater and are able to come up out of the water and shoot off into the sky at a high speed, basically with no sound? He said there wasn't really even any sound. And I was like, hell no. I mean, if they did, I guess it's possible, but I doubt it. I really doubt it.
It's not.
Why would you keep it underwater?
I don't. Who knows the purpose of what it's for?
I'm pretty sure.
My thing is it's not out of the realm of necessarily being government, but I will say it's not impossible that it was straight up a UFO either. So like, you're talking about like that could go either direction.
But I mean, when you define UFO, it clearly is unidentified flying objects.
Correct.
So,
but you go a step further. You go more into detail. Yeah. Do you think it's a alien, not some foreign person, but like outer space ET?
Okay.
Being that's flying this aircraft, or are we saying it's government?
Right. But even for example, even if it is another country who has that technology, and they're keeping
something
aircrafts in our bodies of water, we still have Lake Mead.
Lake Mead of all places.
I definitely would not be parking my underwater aircraft in Lake Mead. No. I'm sure there's plenty of other clean lakes across this country.
Definitely a lot cleaner for sure.
It comes out of the water. It's got like a 3-headed turtle with a dead body from the 50s attached to it. You know what I mean?
The mob.
But we have bigger problems. I mean, either way, we have issues because.
We do.
My goodness, like
we're outdone. The reality. So, still tangenting. The reality is that I don't think we would be capable of even. I don't even think we'd put a dent in what you know, they have or what they're
That's
capable
terrifying.
of. And I don't even think we would make them flinch. The only thing that makes, my opinion, again, theory, I think the reason they're interested goes back to when the first nuclear bomb was developed.
Okay.
I think the interest comes from that. Yeah, I think the reason they've hung out, they've stayed, and I think it's a monitor thing. I think really it's a babysitting thing. They're like, okay, we've seen what humanity is capable of, but this nuclear bomb thing, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch a lot of documentaries like I do, probably way more than I should, but what's crazy is a lot of people who have been abducted, one thing that a lot of the stories have in common is they say that the aliens basically just tell them, they're warning them about destroying the planet. Okay, so that could be just, okay, we got a bunch of tree huggers out here who are, you know, we got to save the environment, save the trees, you know, that are just saying they were abducted to try to convince people that we need to do something, you know, per their agenda to save the environment and whatever. Or, and this is a stretch, I know that, but
Stretches are okay.
there is a theory that these aliens are not aliens at all. They're actually people from the future. Now, go with me here. Go with me. They're people from the future who have been mutated, whether it be from radiation, whether it be from nuclear technology, you know, who knows?
Yep.
So, hence the big head, hence
The changing, maybe the deformality of how they look, the appearance.
stature.
Yeah, the stature, everything can be changed.
I don't
or
know what it
modified.
would be like to survive
That'd be
a
interesting.
nuclear war, but a lot of people.
It'd be interesting to have that conversation. So
The theory is that
Yeah.
that these are actually people from the future who have figured out a way to time travel and are coming back to try to warn present day that we need to change or we need to stop doing what we're doing to destroy the planet. Now that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Do I believe it? Who knows?
I need to do more digging on that. So I don't know enough as far as
Rabbit hole.
abductions go, people that have been abducted, stories as such. I typically, and it's for the sake of this show, for the sake of, you know, talking about it and having a good opinion, I'll have to dig more into like abductions. Time travel is a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Is it out of the realm of possibility? Dude, honestly, on this earth, I am not convinced that anything is out of the realm of possibility. It's at least worth talking about.
Right.
I will base an opinion based on what I read and what I kind of go through based on who published it and, you know, who talks about it. Now, whether or not y'all agree with what, you know, is said or our theory or our opinion on it, you know, that's what makes this great, is that we can say what our opinion is and what we think of it, and then you're allowed to do the same and then leave comments and, you know, because if you find articles, things maybe we didn't see, we didn't read, please throw it in there, because happily we will go watch, we will go read. We love those things. So I definitely want to come back to those two things though. I want to come back to abductions and I want to come back to time travel, because those are literally two things that surprisingly, even off this, we have never had conversations about.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not important, but, and I think that's what I like about what we're trying to do here, what me and Trace are trying to do here is, I'm pretty sure you can't really deny the fact that people are so embedded in their cell phones and jumping on Netflix and watching Netflix for hours and hours, and people have gotten away from and even forgotten how to just sit down and have a conversation about whatever the hell you want to talk about. You want to talk about UFOs, you want to talk about abductions, you want to talk about movies, you want to talk about anything, you know, why the sky is blue and why grass is green. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. The fact of the matter is you're interacting.
Yep.
And I feel like, you know, me and Chase are very compatible in that, because me and this guy can literally sit down and talk for hours and hours and hours about anything and everything. And
but the crazy part is, on that, we can usually talk about just one subject. We usually don't scatterbrain as much. Usually we can stay on one topic and we can go on about that topic for a very long time.
yes, we can. And
very long time.
I'll tell you what topic that would be, and that would be Sasquatch. Let me tell you, we could literally just do this channel off nothing but Sasquatch,
Yeah.
Bigfoot,
Straight up.
Yeti, you know.
There's so many. There's a lot, dude. I'm drawing a blank. If you're looking at me,
you know, you guys
There's a
all
lot.
might be just like, oh, these two guys, like,
Fault
what am I
monster.
doing? What am I doing with my life watching this video right now? But once again, you know, there may be a lot of people out there. I would be willing to bet that there are a lot of people out there, just like me and you, who, you know, are intrigued by the Bigfoot phenomenon.
I think it's grown. So,
Here we go. I think we should talk about it.
here we go. So,
Change lanes.
yes, we're just gonna, that UFO and all that stuff, that's just gonna, we're gonna push that aside for a second. We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Trust me, the conversation will happen more and more. So, I think Bigfoot is a growing, I will. Bigfoot enthusiast, I think that is growing as far as people that are taking it more seriously than it was before. I think there has been a small number, and that small number consists of people that have seen it, or that have had an experience, didn't see anything, but there was definitely something weird happening. I think it's only gotten more and more with technology. I think there's a lot of people out there that actually go looking for it. So here's my thing with Bigfoot.
Well, let's hear it.
If you're one of those things, if you're one of those people where you're gonna sit there and tell me it doesn't exist, you're gonna sit there and tell me that I'm crazy for believing in it, my question to you is, when's the last time you went outside in the woods in an area where maybe it's been seen and looked for it? Because if your answer is you haven't, I really don't care what your opinion is. Not that I don't want you to still give me feedback, that's fine, and, you know, comment as necessary or what you think, but I've never seen Bigfoot. I've never claimed to see Bigfoot, but based on evidence, based on, you know, YouTube videos, based on just all the other videos you can find throughout the web, there's something to this, more so than people think. Now, like I said, that could sound crazy to you, but honestly, I'm to the point now with the videos I've seen, the stories I've read, and how they all kind of, they all tie together, and they all kind of say the same things and the same interactions. That doesn't happen by accident.
Right.
Separate accounts, separate situations, same characteristics. Something is definitely to it, more so than what non-believers, as we'll call it, would say.